4:30, the Board of Civil Authority, South Burlington, meeting to order. The instructions on exiting the building in case of emergency. Yes.
Okay, in case there is an emergency, we're going to leave this door, turn immediately to the right, and there's an emergency exit there. You'll be able to go down the stairs and relocate in the front of the building.
And for Jen, I'm sure you can just listen to the chaos that will ensue here. When everybody gets out. Any agenda item 3, comments from the public not related to the agenda? Hearing and seeing no members of the public. I'm going to go to agenda item 4, introduction of new member and an update on vacancy. We have among us, I'll go back to January 14th, Cynthia Magoo, who was appointed to fill a vacancy we had for the Democratic JP, and the governor appointed Sydney and the board. And then just this past week, we had another vacancy on Democratic JP. And Robert or Burt Munger was appointed by the governor to fill that slot. So both of your terms expire. And well, Christy Sermont moved out of town for cities, and Megan Emery stepped down based on her full rights fellowship responsibility on other things. So, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. We have just introduced the 2 newest members of our BCA. As the BCA members started, Cindy Magoo and Burt Munger. So Lori Smith and Tim Barrett. So there are no other vacancies that I'm aware of at the moment. We did alert the as the Democratic chair, I did alert the Republicans that there was a vacancy. If they wanted to submit names, we'll get deeper into that later on. But it seems that the governor is thinking that the voters privilegedly appointing members of that party. The name that's significant, but they're all. What I gather, I don't have that thinking, but we're going to agenda item 5 now on the BCA agenda. Review of the upcoming August elections, primary and special local election. I'll hand that over to Holly.
Great. So the August primary is coming, August 11th. And the city has decided that in addition to that, we need to do a local bonds election, and it wasn't something that could wait till the general election. That wasn't something that I guess was no one was aware of or prepared for the March election. So it needs to go in tandem. Can't go on the ballot, but on the ballots. Yeah, so separate ballots. So the thought being, obviously, using the tabulators for the primary, and then just doing a hand count for the local ballot. So
yes, no.
A yes, no. That's the thought. Happy to discuss. I'll revert to Donna if she has better experience. But kind of you're here. Do you want both ballots? Well, actually, do you want 4 ballots? Because the primaries will be 3. So it's just gonna take a lot of coordination, but it's doable. Thoughts? Then court. Yep.
So you have 20 ballots, right? Democrat, Republican, and Progressive. You have to put yes or no on each one of those.
You get to you vote one of them, return the others.
Right.
Yep, and then in addition, you'd have, let's say, a yellow ballot that is from the city.
Yeah. Oh, you could put just a yes, no on all 3 ballots? You still
No.
will let you do that?
No,
Put
not on the
some-
primary.
And what I'm hearing is the bond vote, the special city ballot would be a hand count. Is that your?
That's the thought for a yes, no.
You can't go through the.
That's cheaper?
Well, they could,
We just need to sign.
30 cents a ballot.
Okay, thank you.
That's the cost.
I mean, 30 is like 30 cents a ballot
Yeah.
for them to create the ballot and to be read by the machines. So you kind of offset that versus hand count versus,
So would you use the tabulator to have the side thing, or would you have a separate?
Separate.
A separate.
Then
Is
we
that
do
right?
have those
Yeah.
How about
already in existence. So there would be, I'm kind of thinking of like, you'd have the tabulator, the hippo, the gong, as you call it.
Star Wars.
Oh, yes.
You know what?
Yes. And then, in addition, you would have I'm gonna say disposal for our own purposes of the other two ballots. And then over to the right, I would say color coded, you would have a ballot box for the local ballot. And have, you know, kind of some runway direction, somebody standing next to the local, somebody standing next to the tabulator in the other.
I vote for a separate, so 8.5 by 11 paper sheet that says yes, no. Because going, finding yes, no's and sending them counting,
Oh,
it's
sure.
pretty fast. We've done it before.
Yeah.
It's not.
So I just want everyone to be prepared. In discussion if need be. That sounds like that's the way we're gonna go. Great, so we'll schedule for that.
What's the ballot item?
It is a Bartlett
Stormwater.
Bay
Or wastewater.
wastewater, additional funds for the wastewater facility.
Or if you want.
So
What is the registering people for the primary 17-year-olds? I thought it was just the federal election.
Are we moving to item six?
I thought it was,
We're on item five.
Yeah, that is.
oh, that was special events for registration.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's 5 on mine.
Now, live on,
Oh, I've got the older one. I
Oh, I
Wanna-
can grab, yeah, no worries. Here.
thank you.
So any other proposals?
Yes, any other, item four, anything else? No. Then, we'll talk about the discussion of high school registration for 17-year-olds that have a primary, that's then item five. Apparently, this is more of a thing and that's been done in the past, because was it Patrick Burke who had mentioned that it was part of his process to be handing out caps and gowns? Okay, were you aware of that?
So the ahead of the local election, in March, the school board reps, student school board reps, had, said, you know, we'd like to do an initiative to get people registered to vote. So I said, you know, absolutely, here's what we need to do. I went over, what we find often is things come from the high school in triplicate. So I was able to go in live time and be like, you are already registered to vote. I know you didn't realize that, but, and do the oaths right there for folks that had registered for the DMV and I got their license at 16. And so I think this initiative is more letting 17-year-olds know that if you turn 18 before or on the primary that you, or before on the general election, that you can vote in.
So let me clarify, was that what you
So,
said?
no.
This is federal elections.
not,
No.
We
not,
have a congressional election on the ballot and there will be a primary for that.
well, depends if there is this year. Well, there's not one every year.
Oh.
So
There, yeah, no, there is this year.
there is one.
So there is always a federal election on the ballot in even numbers here.
Right. So the state had done this a few years back, but when did you hear from the school board reps for that? Was that 2 years ago that they had done this previously? Or is that recent?
That's recent.
This is in this site.
That is in this.
Okay, because I'm talking about communications I had with Patrick, directly asked Joe Clark, you know, on behalf of the BCA and looked for approval, you know, tonight that we would want to do this at the BCA. Apparently, it's a bit more of a thing from their perspective. But go ahead, Lynn.
Why is vote in the primary in quotation marks?
Because the primary is really a nomination process, because
But they are casting a ballot.
they're casting a ballot,
They
but
will count.
if we, yep, but I think they like to use the term nomination process, because if it's vote, then you can't vote until you're 18. So they can be part of this nominating process, which is from all intents and purposes, an election.
So the only ballot they will get when they check in at the polls is the federal.
Correct.
Are the three primary?
They will not get-
Well, we handle like everybody else, so progressive.
I mean,
Not the law.
They can't.
not the local, not the bomb.
That is.
That
Was
is,
that it?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no conversion.
Will there be
No.
something on the voter list that lets the people?
Yes.
No.
Oh, they'll go to training, you know, but
Michael?
I'm confused here. There is a congressional nomination, don't we have to,
but that's what,
that's not what I understood you were saying. That there was no
Yeah.
congressional.
I just meant
State.
state. Congressional state.
State or federal primary. As long as you're 18 by the non-political.
Is there any other Confusion on what we're trying to do.
No, it's nominated, I understand.
Well, I'm just using that terminology because that's, as I questioned, if you
Yeah, I
can't
think that's
vote,
really
then you
gonna
can't
confuse the
vote.
kids.
But
That's,
That
that's
they
the
can't vote.
secretary's.
I think we need, if we do this, to use the same language at the school and ask the school to use the language, not nominate, but you may only vote in the federal primary, you can't vote for the bond on that day.
Sure.
You're not. I love that the high school wants to do that.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think that's fantastic to announce. Like
Not
with every
graduation,
graduating.
no, when they're giving out their caps and gowns, so in the
Oh.
prep for that, it's like a week before.
You're in that active last week or two.
So
Great.
what actually happens when they hand it to Captain Gavin? What happens?
Just go to the lobby, and you say your.
No,
name,
but
and
what
they
is it?
give
Are they
you a
given,
stamp.
are they given it like a document that describes this, or are they told something, or?
So they have two different sessions of giving out cap and
Yeah.
gown, one's the 29th, and I don't remember the other day, maybe the
June
20,
Okay.
okay, June 3rd. And it's just an hour and a half, 2 hour drop-in time, maybe drop-in time, and so the concept would be that the BCA, couple members table during that time to try to,
Register,
could
or just
But-
educate?
educate and register,
Oh.
if maybe.
So the thinking that I had would be that we have like one or two totems around the table with two PCA members. Or you're not prepared to staff, are you?
I mean, I can go.
But I thought to alleviate any strain on the city clerk, that, you know, the BCA members would fall into the staff. And the date that I picked that I would like to propose would be Friday, May 29th, and they have the cap and gown handout 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the lobby. And then we would have those totems that we have with city maps for the districts there with some type of signage that would indicate on those totems what we're about. If you are 17 and will be 18 by November 3rd, on or before November 3rd, then, and you're a US citizen and a South Burlington resident, then please, you know, consider signing up to vote in the August 11th primary on Tuesday for your choice of Democrat, Progressive, or Republican.
That's important to local resident, because they're going out kids in there.
Yes.
To other students from out of town.
I mean, I don't wanna put our arms around that tree. We probably could do it, but
Maybe give them the form and send them to their.
there you go. You take that home.
That's what we did.
Well, all towns can do this, right? So you can advise them to go to their own town.
Exactly.
Here's
the-
the. No, it's really easy to mail it to a town clerk.
It's easy to do.
Ah.
No, no, just advise them, or you don't care if kids in the town.
They are in town, they're paying tuition yours.
They are, yeah. But
So,
because-
we're ready.
Yeah, but, no, we're only concerned with our kids. We can educate the kids and say, you could vote, you need to go to your city clerk, town clerk.
So here's why I want to really contest that. There are students at South Burlington High School. When I taught at the Center for Technology, those kids came from 10 different towns.
Yeah.
And I registered them all, and I sent it to every town clerk. There's no reason we should identify those kids as not being part of South Burlington and go see your town clerk. It's hard enough to get them to come to school. Not send them to town clerk.
Maybe you notice it is
Important.
Well, we share anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm out of town.
Yeah.
Well, again, straw poll, is this a fair idea? I think just for one day, May 29th, that Friday, as opposed to the Wednesday, June 3rd, rather than signing up for 2 days. I thought we could do it on one day. That would be the best effort, and do it as the DCA, rather than what the school can just have our presence. They give it some extra heft. So
And then the school would have it available for second day.
they perhaps really can follow it. It's not that difficult. Isn't that what they were thinking and intending? on?
Yeah, Yes, I think we were.
We'd be happy to have one of the weekends that
On the first day.
I don't watch.
You ever take the voting machine, is it better?
No,
They're too technologically astute, they'll figure out how to game.
What time did you say it was on? Friday
10:30 to 1 o'clock. But again, I just want to get approval from the board and nail down what issues like, would we register you, regardless, if you were just past the first muster, be a US citizen, and then, not caring about city residents. As long as it was,
Are these students gonna be able to prove that they're American citizens? Would they have to be in their birth certificate?
No comment, not required.
self-attestation.
Just.
Yes.
Yeah, and local. Right.
That being said, if you have 3 or 4 17-year-olds that vote in the August election, that's probably.
A lot, not just that.
It's not, no.
Any result changing.
It's just a show of flag more than anything.
To come and get our ballot.
Well, and I would say, I think it's always an opportunity more than anything, exactly what you're saying, Chris, to raise the flag, but also just to educate. There was an issue a couple of years ago where one of the student reps on the school board, I think, misinterpreted some things and had a big initiative to get everybody registered and voting ahead of a local election that was set. And I said, no, you can't, that's not the way that works. But the word had already gotten out and teachers were behind it and it became quite an issue in the lobby during voting. So I would like to be the ones that are getting the information to people, and correct it.
When you did this in the past, how difficult was it to mail the other?
I did it every day that I registered kids, so that I didn't ever forget. I had drafted a cover letter, dear town clerk. Here's who I am, here's my phone number, if there's a question, please register this kid, I have given them the copy. So it was so easy. It
I'd
was
say, given the number of kids that we're talking about here.
who are not South
And
Burlington residents.
we're not, and facilitating people being able to vote. I'd opt for taking care of it.
They're all gonna come back to me anyway. So
Well, I'll do it if you want me to come.
happy to send off the 2 or 3 to
I know.
South Hero or wherever, happy to do that.
We're talking about getting kids engaged in the process.
And not having kids from the islands feel like they're not acceptable to student.
So this is a good enough idea, love a motion from somebody, but
Oh.
I had to be
Move
seated.
that we adopt the proposal as presented by the chair.
It could be, to assist in 17-year-olds,
Second.
18, November the 3rd. On May 29th, Friday, from 10:30 to 1, it's not. Thanks.
Yes.
I'll second. Registered US citizens. And go over.
Oh, would you put some date for those of us who might be doing it? Well, like, when do they have to be born by?
Yes.
To be legit?
Like at the bar.
Like, the liquor control, like that.
I know,
Counting backwards is hard.
it is. Counting is hard to do.
Any further discussion on this one?
Do you want just 2 to show up or you want to have this?
I was gonna get to that after, but. Well, staffing is a whole other matter. All of them favor that.
I know.
Yeah. Abstaining. Okay, thank you, motion passes. As far as staffing, I intend to be there the whole time from 10:30 to 1. More than happy to have 1, 2 other people, Friday, May 29th, 10:30 to 1, maybe an hour shift, 10:30, 11:30, 11:30, 12:30, something like that.
I know.
Oh, so we get lunch.
All of a sudden, he's in the.
At 30 cents a ballot, I'm not sure the city put budget can afford it. I know you guys live high and
For
afford
the
it,
stamps for the envelopes, but not lunch.
steak and lobster
Maybe you'll get
Well,
a
I'm sure.
chance.
at 11:45.
Where is it going to be held?
At the high school in the lobby.
Okay, thank you.
Alright,
Okay, so I have Chris, I have myself.
I'll be there until 12.
Okay,
so Cindy and I heard Donna early from 10:30 to 11:30 approximately, then it's still.
11:30 to 1 or 12, I'll cover when we leave.
12:01.
12.
Great, thank you. Alright, so we have three extra bodies, all of myself. So, people.
I'll say 11 for the fact.
I've got myself, I've got John at 10 to 11, and then Lynn on 11:30 to 1,
Both one.
12 to 1,
And Cindy.
and
10:30 to 1.
10:30 to 1.
Well, make that house sense.
To 12. Okay. I'm looking at them. Okay, great. I can, you want me to send out calendar invites? That,
That'd be great.
okay,
Sure, but someone told us.
great.
All right, moving on to agenda item 6, senior housing day.
Yep, so if you look on the back page, well, the next page on the agenda, we have the senior housing dates for at least the prep for the August 11th election. So just looking for two people, and you don't have to commit now, but just looking at those dates. So we've got 10 to 11:30, Tuesday, July 21st, and Friday, July 29th, and then Tuesday, July 28th. So I'm happy to send those out for everyone's consideration, so we don't have to talk about either, but I just want to let you know that those are scheduled. I know there's a little bit of a scramble last year or last election because of some changes that we weren't aware of with the right folks or the right facilities, so we wanted to get those in early. And then Beth Sigmund, who new to the council and certainly new to the BCA, was really looking for a longer runway of timing, so I tried to put some dates together for the pre-election meeting and tabulator testing, some pre-processing, and then home delivery and election. So, you know, it's just they're out there for consideration. If anyone thinks we need to move anything significantly, but I wanted to just have things on there. As well as putting something in for the assessments in. So,
All right, so thank you. This is really helpful, Holly. The dates in the notice as a save the date or preview of what the schedule is like is Tuesday, July 21st at the gazebo on Williston Road, Friday, July 24th at 90 Allen Road, Tuesday, July 28th, Quarry Hill. Then the pre-election meeting and tabulator testing, Thursday, July 30th at 5 o'clock. Pre-processing of ballots on Friday, August 7th from 9 to 12 in the morning. Home delivery as needed of ballots the day before the election, Monday, August 10th from 3 to 4 o'clock. And election day, of course, on Tuesday, August 11th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There we go.
Yep, the assessments, so if there are any, Thursday, July 23rd, just as a placeholder. They're pretty quick, usually 15-20 minutes, so I booked 2 hours. We'll see, but I'll be in coordination with Emily as those come, but.
Those are appeals.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially you have appeals on that we would know about and have a meeting for on July 23rd to schedule them, like that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Any questions on those dates, previous? Okay, we'll move to agenda 7, the representation of 3 major parties at the polls.
So this is
Chris.
something that.
Jen?
Sorry, I'm trying to follow from here, and I don't have those dates in front of me. So, are we going to be sent those dates?
Yes, I believe Holly indicated she was gonna send out more the same detail shortly.
Jen, I think I sent it to you in an email this afternoon.
Oh, okay,
But if not, no
I
worries.
probably haven't checked that. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. I will, we'll send them again with the minutes, so that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so representation of 3 major parties at the polls. So this came up, if you remember, big time with Burlington. So we just wanted to kind of have a conversation about it because we don't have, you know, an even BCA. So we do the best we can to even fill the back table. And have, you know, either independent representation, which would come from the one independent that we have. And considering the city council as independent as well, or non-declared, nonpartisan, thank you. And myself, but I don't sit at the back table. But we do need to be open to any representation that isn't there. So if or as a progressive, or we only have 1 R, so if there are other, Republicans that wanna have a presentation or representation at the county, but that is, well, really the whole election, but especially the county only. That is allowable, so just a heads up, but it's something that, you know, we don't need to invite, but should we get an inquiry?
Is that something that would happen before the election day, or is that something that someone could just walk in at 10 o'clock and say, I'm a Republican, I want to?
Well, that would be more of a poll watcher that would just walk in, but I think that there's a process, they would, somebody would need to request of the BCA. Ahead of the election,
To be there as an observer,
to be at the back tables.
as an observer, not to have any.
No, I think they could have participation in the process.
In the overseeing of.
In
as the ballot-
overseeing, yeah.
Overseeing, so if there's a ballot that has a question on it, you want to have different people watching to make sure that.
Closer to the
transfers.
poll watcher, like involved in the process. Just
So-
appointed, and actually appointed to the BCA for
For
elections.
And who would make that?
I don't go through that process yet, so I don't know what that is.
In my understanding, the governor would think that appointment of the governor has appointed them as reasonable. Reps, that it would require a more formal notification from the local party, Progressive or Republican, to the governor asking for additional membership. And again, Colin McNeil, our city attorney, should be able to verify.
Increasing the number of BCA's?
Not ACA members, election workers, for the purposes of that particular election.
An election worker is not approved by the government.
Right, but
So the BCA that's present at the polls that day has the ability to make a decision. Yes, this person will be a poll watcher, they take the oath, and then they're a poll worker, they're a poll.
okay,
Well, without going through what we always do.
The core of the BCA were there on the, it was just one. Majority of the BCA workers at the polls on election day to make a decision to nominate someone to be a poll.
At the last election, I used to have that.
oh,
So if there were, when I need question, this is. We would work together, we had.
Yeah, this is a little bit different, I think, so I do think it's worth a little bit of research just to make sure we're doing the right process. I know in Burlington, the ask had come from the city council and the city council denied it, and that's why I think we had a production. So I think what makes sense is to touch base with Colin McNeil, tell him we're having this conversation, and it's really just have a drafted process that we can all.
and I think the two approaches that was, laid out, basically,
Yeah.
my discussion was then of where the government would appoint an additional election worker as it. They would, or whether, we as the BCA, in our approval of the assistant election officials can approve a member of the Progressive or Republican Party for the purposes of having or otherwise being at the back table throughout the day to balance that representation. And that we have that authority to consider.
We do, it's one of our duties before the election, one of the things we have before this election, we're actually nominating and approving the election workers. So regardless of what party they are,
Then
we're approving.
that's great, then we don't need to do it. I love it.
Well, yes, I agree, but I think that. I just wanna know what a stipulation is, and that means ahead of that. At that meeting or before, we need to know if. If there is going to be representation, so we can approve. So I guess a little conversation around whether we feel it is anybody's. Duty, obligation to reach out to the underrepresented parties and say, hey, do you want to participate? If so, here's the deadline.
Or is it worth it to just publicize? Once you're clear with Colin and you know the process, is it worth it to just publicize to the community that underrepresented political parties can go through this process if they're interested?
I think we should get advice from Colin before we go on.
Right.
Burlington's issue is because they have a special thing in their charter called the Board of Registration of Voters, and their charter says that they must have equal representation of parties. We have no such thing. So,
We can dig deeper on that.
yes, unless and until
That-
our
that's a-
attorney tells us it's a problem.
That is a big
And the
issue.
Secretary of State's in the past has been, you make the best you can.
Yeah,
It's like if you, because there are small towns out there who have only one party and they won their election, they're like, that's the best we can do. That's.
I will say, we'll absolutely not be run by Colin again. I will say that I was approached by Colin when this had occurred in Burlington saying, what does our BCA look like? Like, is that a problem for us? And I said, well, what are the major parties? Are there 3 major parties? Or are there 2 major parties? And he said, really based on the election. So there's really 3 major parties here. So I will touch base with him again, get his guidance and,
All right.
follow through with that.
So we'll move on,
Yep.
agenda item 8, discussion of election worker training and approval.
Yep, so this is me, we are working on now the back of the house kind of election worker training, so tabulator training videos. And we have a list of 250 people, that are active, meaning we've had some sort of communication in the past year. That are interested in being election workers, so we will be sending links to all of those folks. And then the people that, so I'm guessing it's gonna be about 250, would be people that we asked to be approved just in case we need to pull people. So we did get to the point last year in, March where we had an overflow of people that were approved, but we had multiple call outs in the last week. And it got a little dicey. We were able to fill it. But especially for this election where we're gonna need kind of more hands in the back, for tabulators. I just wanna make sure, so I think the process will be, there'll be a lot of names, probably about 250. They'll still have the schedule, but I would ask that you consider approving those people, knowing they could never been, attend, put through that training.
Anybody? Okay, agenda item 9, reminder of June 22nd, Secretary of State elections training.
Yep, so it's a free training. So I went in and I registered everybody as of 2 weeks ago. So Bert, I'll make sure I register you. I hadn't done that yet. And anybody who can, please join. I think you have the information, but it's June 22nd, right at the Doubletree. So just want to make sure that that's on your radar. And thank you with a coffee and,
Well,
light breakfast and it's on that.
and no cost.
No cost.
And well worth
And
it.
there's a requirement for the.
It is a requirement. I did say that's a tough pill to swallow. So I've asked if they can report it, so I can at least send them a link to people. Because not everybody can be there, so they're considered. How long have you said it was going? Every 2 years. According to the Secretary of State's office.
It's always been there, it's just they don't,
I've
They
been
don't
there twice,
trust
and I
They have grant.
know I'm.
they don't,
They can possibly.
they can't possibly enforce it or track who does it.
It's really valuable. I have
It
this. You don't know.
Okay, agenda item 11, other business.
The only other business I wanted to bring to light, Chris, was the timing. So there's some new dates for JPs to get on to the November ballot. They moved everything up by like a month. So for independent folks, you need to have petitions in by July 20th.
And your consent is only, you could submit it now.
Yeah.
It started on April 20.
And for those getting nominated by caucus, it's July 27th. With your meetings having to be done by July.
This is like a month earlier. It used to be, we did this after the primary. Now it's being done before the primary. So there's a hurry up. And the political parties going to meet in caucus in the first few weeks of July.
So what do we have to say now?
Again, your party, your local political party will put together a caucus and
all right.
hopefully nominate you.
Okay.
If they don't, then that same party would come up with names, if I'm not mistaken, on their own as a nominated caucus. So they're supposed to both be nominated by some of the ages of the county and the state party.
Oh.
Gonna follow through and make this.
So are you going to go?
As well.
What do you try about? Retire from the.
No, that's speaking in the third person. It's still me, but we are not amused. Why, if you like that.
You tried that,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
And the other, if we're done with that,
The only other thing I would say, and obviously this group is amazing and great, but I would just really love to tell everybody that when you sign up to be part of the Beast today, that it really does require really regular attendance. I mean, we still have 2 or 3 people that are not showing up for anything. And if you're somebody who spends a lot of time traveling, this might not be the gig for you. So I would just, as people are talking about it and being interested and talking about it, and caucusing, I would just put it up.
that would be good. Find out that, you know, people have health issues and they don't back it down, but that's not 2 years.
Oh, I was just gonna ask. Oh, no, it's not on it.
The other item I might mention, Holly, is I didn't see any minutes from our previous meetings, so, but
Yep.
maybe you could include them the next.
I sure will.
Okay, so that is. All right, I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, and take a second from, first from Matthew, and second from, Mike, thank you. And
I'm gonna close out of the
all those in
meeting.
favor,
Oh,
please
sorry.
say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? All right,
So Jen, I'm gonna close out of this meeting and then give me just a minute and you can open up the next webinar for the VOA. Does that work?
Okay, I hope I can figure it out.
Okay, and then
Thank you.
also check your email because I did send the scanned packets that we're gonna be reviewing. So you
Yes.
have to look at. Okay, perfect.
Okay, and I did see the tentative dates email.
Okay.
I just checked.
Okay, super.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.